William Fallis, born sometime around the late 1300s or early 1400s by Earth's time, somewhere in Europe, first son of a low-ranking noble, one of many to come and go along human history. His story is lost to time and unknown by his own people. His life has been most unusual from birth up until his mid-20s. The boy, like many others, had grown with knights being a main leading force in his country's lands and many around it. Looking up to the profession with a romanticized view, the young man grew upholding the views of knights of story, even being closer to something akin to a paladin in virtues. Like any person, he had his moments of weakness and his vices, but his love for the meaning of the word knight, and the power behind what it meant to be one, always held him closer to a righteous path, more than many others. His unique story begins when William was about the late age of 25, already having lived half of his life. While on his way back home after participating in a siege while on the attacking side, his attention was drawn to some of the bright blue lights off in the distant horizon, shining from the thick depths of a nearby forest. As he was on horseback, William stopped his mount's speedy gallop as he gazed confused upon the bizarre lights. "Oh, what a light of azure shines through to mine eyes from the depths of the forest, godly and angelic. 'Tis a sign from God himself, surely. He must be calling for me to meet him. Why else would I be graced by this miracle?" He took a moment to find a place to loosely tie his horse to, and give its head a few gentle pats. "Do not worry, Stavelian. I shall return back to you, but should danger find you, hearken unto my plea and run akin to the wind. The wood is too thick with brush and root for you to safely traverse it. I shall return, post-haste, mine steed." Dressed in a light cloth garb with some padded leather armor on top, the knight grabbed his satchel, spear, sword at the hip, and shield from the horse, and he set course into the wood. With decided steps he advanced, ready to meet his god and hear him and his orders to him. Meanwhile, at the source of the light, deep into the woods, laid a metal vessel of decent size, half buried into the earth. Tossed about and broken trees confirmed a crash landing. Inside the spacecraft of a spherical shape, Azael and Gabel were just coming back to consciousness. They were nearly 7 feet tall, and with light blue complexion upon their wiry frames. The impact had shaken them to their cores. Bruises formed on their gentle features. Azael pushed back silvery white strands of hair, as her golden eyes blinked slowly while she got her bearings.
"Oh, fuck. Everything hurts. Gabel, you alive?"
She groaned as she lifted her head up from their ship's console, looking to her co-pilot who was splayed on the floor.
Yeah. Although I wish I wasn't,"
Gabel said as he shakily pushed up on his elbows, his 4 digits on each of his hands feeling his face for damage.
What happened? My head. Oh!
Azael said as she put a palm to her left temple. Pulling away, dark blue blood was staining it.
"We got intercepted by a Daemar fighter vessel while getting out of planet 34R/7H's atmosphere. Evasive maneuvers failed, and we had to make a crash landing," Gabel continued as he struggled to his feet, making his way back to the console. "Fucking hell. Check with the xenobiologists over comms and see if they're alive in the back. I will send off an emergency signal and a message to the outpost we have on planet M4/R5. We gotta be quick and pray the signal reaches them or anyone that can come quick."
Gabel nodded as he got to it, trying the communicator he had shared frequency with everyone on board. "Lurkin, Ashen, report on your state if you can hear this message. This is Gabel, over." Azael got to work as well, setting their emergency beacon online and starting to record a message.
"This is Pilot Azael from the Angelon Empire, pilot for the scientific vessel designation Enlightenment, the Xenobiology branch. We have crash-landed on planet 34R/7H, situated within the 7th Space Sector. Crash landing was caused by a surprise attack made by a Daemar combat vessel. Send reinforcements and a medical unit ASAP. We are not clear of danger."
As Azael finished the message, she could hear Gabel swear angrily as he went to the lockers storing their only redemption fighting suit, which was only for emergency cases, which it seemed this was one of those.
"Gabel, talk to me. What happened?"
Azael mumbled loudly to her co-pilot as she inched her way towards him, holding onto the wall of their decently sized cockpit.
I got a hold of Lucan. Shit! It's stuck! Fuck! He said. Damar's got their hands on Ashen. The back left side is busted open and they grabbed her as she was near the opening. I'm trying to get the suit out, but the damn door is busted, he growled. We are wasting time. I'll grab the first aid kit, check your kinetic energy sidearm for damage, and we've got to mobilize, Azael said as she unholstered her weapon from her hip, gave it a quick look over, and then went to grab the medical kit they had in storage under the console. Wish they'd let us take our standard rail rifle for this mission, specifically because of shit like this. These danky things won't do shit against Damar armor, Gabel said as he checked his gun while opening the doors leading from the cockpit to the small hallway, with doors leading to their storage closet, small accommodations, and the lab at the back. The duo advanced carefully towards the lab doors that were already partially slit open, seemingly busted from the wreck. Passing through them, they had found Lucan hiding behind one of their research tables, which were standard issued and bolted to the floor. The scientist's left golden eye was busted, swirling with his own blue blood. Zail, Gabel, there's 4 of them. I heard them talking about coming in for a sweep. The scientist, Lucan, whispered with groans of pain. They beat up my assistant. Please, do something, he said, desperate. Did you see what weapons they were using? Anything higher cal? Gabel began questioning, but a shot from a rail rifle ripping a hole in a different table answered his unfinished inquiry. Fuck. If we live, I will kill our whole logistics department, the greedy fucks. They give us an old first-gen RF suit, and I think it's enough. Pieces of shit! He swore with fury, whispering exasperated as he went into proper cover beside the scientist. Azael crouched near them as she peeked over cover and out the hole in the side of their ship. 4 Damar indeed, all equipped with impact bodysuits that harden when struck by high-velocity projectiles. Gah! At best our pistols are distractions. Damars were shorter in stature than Angolans, mainly due to their long legs being double-jointed, with a joint bending back while the second one bent forward. Their legs had thicker toes near akin to hooves, and their backs were hunched heavily. When fully sprawled out, they might actually beat Angolans in length, which wasn't encouraging as they also seemed physically brawnier than them. Come on, fellas! You have until the count of 3 or we blast this Bluey's brain into this forsaken shit planet's mud! One of the Damars yelled out. Fuck you, you red piece of crap! Asheen yelled out, which got her a kick in the jaw in return. Feisty little thing! Chuckled another who administered the blow. At about this time, William had gotten closer and closer to the flashing blue light. Hearing sounds of voices he couldn't understand, he became wary of danger. Sneaking up through the brush, he found his eyes gazing upon a scene he had a hard time understanding. After his mind took a moment to process what he saw, he arrived to one certain conclusion. God hath called upon me to assist one of his angels, upon which demons had been set. Oh, what woe for such a divine being to have been befallen by! He whispered angrily to himself. How dare they! He thought with a wordless gasp, as he witnessed one of the demons kick the angel in the head. Insulted by the uncalled-for strike upon the already subjugated angel, William stood, an iron grip on his spear. Holding his spear for a throw, William rushed out of the brush in a charge. How dare ye, vile fiends! Get off that angel! Run! He roared, tossing the spear at the closest demon his eyes landed on. Damars, hearing the shouting, turned confused, seeing a human charge at them. Is that a fucking native? The Damar closest to William said, exploding in a shriek of pain as the spear he tossed impaled his torso. It shrieked out as he gasped the spear's shaft that was stuck in him. Shocked, the Reds reacted really slowly, giving the knight enough time to continue his charge. He bashed the one who had already been struck by the spear with the edge of his shield, retrieved his weapon, and then shoved his spear once more into the unlucky one's throat. Shoot it! Said a higher-ranking Damar, as his 2 goons began pointing a rail rifle and a kinetic pistol at the leather-armored knight.
Before they could fill the primitive native of the muddy planet with holes, the trio of Daymars were covered in a small volley of pistol fire from inside the ship. William peered from where the flashes of light came, and he could see more angels. He tossed his shield aside and, using his free arm, he lifted Ashin onto his shoulder, which he seemed to do with ease. "Pray forgive me, your divinity, but I must assist hastily," he yelled as he bolted inside, slipped on the slanted metal floor, and slid on his ass all the way to the back. Gabel, Lucan, and Azael looked wide-eyed at William, whose eyes sparkled with awe. Doc, can it understand us?" Gabel asked as he took cover behind the desk.
We've been studying them for quite a bit, and no, they shouldn't. I don't understand why it came to our assistance. It kind of hates one another. If they wear slightly different clothes. This is insane!
Azael groaned, impatient, as she kept overwatch on the opening into the ship.
Less talking. Anti-Ashain, you morons! You can gawk at the dirt mammal after we're done with this. Gabel, shoot it if it tries to do anything stupid. I think it's getting up to go out there, the co-pilot said, uncertain as he undid the zip-tie-like bindings from the Ashain's wrists behind her back. William had indeed set Ashain down, who looked in a confused awe at him as he brushed some of her longer silvery locks from her face. "My God, you are a true beauty, truly God's children," William said, gazing towards the others as he grasped his spear tighter. He stood up confidently and began scaling the slanted floor towards the opening. "Fucking hell, it's going to kill itself," Gabel said as he facepalmed. Maybe not. Despite his primitive weapons, he seemed like he could fight them. His species is rather sturdy and surprising. He might be able to...
Before Lucan could finish his words, the group witnessed the primitive mammal go up to the opening, was about to chuck his spear, which got a yelp from one of the Daymars, and then promptly got shot, based on the less scary sound, by the kinetic pistol. William groaned, fell on his back while dropping his weapon, and like a pendulum slid downwards once more at the back of the laboratory next to his angels.
"Oh, God, my heart! Ah!"
he said, holding onto his chest.
"Oh, for the love of... The dominant species on this planet are complete idiots,"
Gabel said as he went beside Azael, at this point not caring about the fate of their unlikely helper.
"God, could you be more heartless?"
Ashain said, annoyed, as she grabbed one of William's arms.
"Doc, help me pull him towards the back. Quick, he's losing blood. Let's give the soldiers space and go to safety."
Right, Lucan said as he got a grip on William, and the two dragged him towards the cockpit with the first aid kit. Why do you think his attack worked?" Gabel asked his colleague, clearly confused by how a primitive's weapon could hurt a Daymar.
"I don't know. The suit is supposed to harden upon high-velocity... impact."
That was when Azael's golden eyes glimmered with realization.
"His spear is as slow as hell by comparison to our weapons. The armor doesn't register them."
The Angelan woman then reached and took William's spear, looking at it.
"Gab, take this and sneak close to the opening. If they approach, I will shoot to distract. You stab."
Good of a plan as any other. The co-pilot sighed, resigned at the situation before him. He took the primitive weapon and began his sudden suicide mission. Back inside the cockpit, Lucan and Ashin had dragged their unlikely native ally inside. The lead xenobiologist began looking over the heavily bleeding William, who seemed to be slowly dying.
"Damn it! I think the bullet might have ruined his heart,"
he said as he began grabbing a few tools and biosealant gel packs, and basically tried to patch the hole in his chest with fast-acting cell regeneration medicine.
"This should work. The native cells seemed similar to our own, and in testing it seemed effective."
Ashin frowned.
"It'll be too slow,"
she thought as her eyes looked quickly about. As her golden gaze laid upon the locker of the RF suit, Eureka struck her.
"The suit! It has cell replication properties and inbuilt life support. It could help,"
she said as she took William's sword from him and began using it to pry open the busted-looking door, struggling to do so.
"The suit? Are you crazy? That's the equivalent of giving a non-sentient primate a rail rifle after putting its digits on the trigger,"
Lucan said while keeping up with the first aid.
Well, that thing saved my life, and I don't know about you, but I am not going to let it die. I owe it at least that,
Ashain said, grunting, as she pried open the locker doors just enough for an arm to fit in. She stretched as best she could and pulled from inside the locker a silvery metal disc about the same size as her palm.
Ashain, as the lead researcher, I forbid it,
Lucan said, standing up with a clearly furious expression on his face, which receded quickly once he saw Ashain lift the sword she wielded in one of her hands.
You can shove your position up your ass, and if you do, please make sure you can taste it in the back of your throat,
she growled as she gave Lucan a shoulder shove. She knelt beside William and looked down upon the pale, pink primitive, whose brown eyes stared half open at her. His long brown hair spread around the floor, soaked lightly with his own blood.
Oh, mine beautiful angel, see that mine soul reacheth the gate of heaven, and please go release the valiant of his duties as mine steed. He doesn't deserve to suffer the weight of my never-coming return,
he said, coughing up a few globs of blood. Ashain listened, but she couldn't understand a single grunt the damn thing was making. She just nodded her head and took his head up into hers.
Don't worry, it'll be fine, hopefully,
she said, nervous, as she placed the metal disc at the center of his chest and gave it 2 finger taps. The silvery metal disc chimed with a gentle sound after a few moments, and it began saying, "The suit's pilot is in critical condition. For quicker life support assistance, would you like to initiate full suit integration instead of the standard operating system?" the device declared, its monotonous voice echoing in the cockpit.
Yes! Initiate full integration! Focus on life support before booting any other systems!
Ashain yelled, impatient. The metal disc chimed in an affirmative sound, as it then shifted across the knight's chest, right over the wound. It sealed the hole with its own surface, and then it started buzzing. As William felt himself fade, a spike of pain shot from his chest, more specifically, his heart. It was as if something was shredding his heart apart, and then it came in stabbing his inner flesh with many hot needles. It burned and stung like nothing else he had ever felt. He yelled as his body convulsed, and after about 2 minutes of this constant torture, the pain dulled and subsided. Biological analysis complete. Replacement of damaged vital organs complete. Suit systems connected neurologically to host. All basic boot-up functions complete, the suit stated once more monotonously. Ashain sighed with relief as she sat down on the floor.
Phew! I'm so glad that worked,
she said with a shaky voice and a small smile on her lips. Lucan groaned, annoyed, as he looked at the suit's core, now physically implanted into the left side of the native's chest. The damn thing tore through his bio-clothing and just dug itself into him. Looking more closely now, the bit of it that was still exposed, it morphed into a shape akin to the metal shield that the primitive was carrying. William, feeling himself breathe fully, and feeling life course through his veins proper, he looked at his chest and noticed the hole in his leather armor and the shirt below it. His eyes sparkled with renewed hope as he looked at Ashain. The young man scrambled onto his knees and palms and bowed his head with the forehead against the floor. "Oh, most gentle and generous angel, thank you for your blessing. Thank you for gracing me with the Lord's love and keeping me in your favor. I shall devote myself to assisting you and the Father in purging these demons."
Oh, what the hell is it doing now?
Ashain asked as she chuckled nervously, doubting her choice at this point. Her eyes wandered towards Lucan for an answer. The lead xenoscientist stared into empty air after seeing William's display, and he seemed to search for an answer in his mind's library. I know this has something to do with religious behaviors and rituals, but why would it... Lucan stuttered, flustered. William stood to his feet with a determined look upon his fair features. "God, I carry thine will as you command me. Grant me thine protection and strength to end the plague that are these demons." AI Assistant Designation, God, activating defensive protocols, enabling full access to inbuilt nanomachine weaponry. the suit's voice declared in a low, monotonous voice.
Did he just name the suit's AI as God? I understood what the suit said, but really? God?
Asheen asked, confused as she stood up. Lucan face-palmed as he finally realized.
The unevolved idiot is mistaking us for divine creatures. No, hell. There's like fuck knows how many religions that I documented here. Which one is he even part of?
The lead scientist said, stepping back. The silver disc on William's chest began spreading over his body like mercury, enveloping him entirely. As it began taking shape, initially in the standard form of the suit, it then began changing. It morphed into a full suit of armor that looked like the full-plated armor the xenobiologists had seen the natives of this planet make and wear in one region of the planet. Despite looking akin to various metal plates strapped together, it was simply just the design choice of the user for the suit's exterior. The living metal even moved to make filigree patterns across various edges of the armor, and in the middle of William's chest the designs merged to form a cross. His headpiece took the shape of a great helm-style helmet, with a cross pattern in the middle, the eye holes being actual visors that shined in blue hue.
Damn! These people are really into religion, huh?
Asheen said as her eyes widened at how much the suit had changed from the standard look. This feature was usually used for one to lightly personalize their suit's design, but it was now unrecognizable. God, hear my plea. Grant me a blade to cut through mine enemies with thunderous force. Let me smite them lightning quick! William shouted, as he reached a hand forward, and from his palm, bits of his suit formed into a hilt, which then grew a pommel and handguard, eventually shooting a straight-edge blade that pulsed with electricity. As Lucan observed, he began tapping away at a little datapad.
I don't think the suit understands his vocal commands, but full integration merges the suit with one's nervous system. It might actually be able to reproduce these details and follow his commands based on his brain's electric patterns, which form his thoughts. Oh, this might be quite interesting. Is such a basic intelligent life form operating intricate technological machinery.
Lucan groaned as Asheen elbowed him in the side.
I understand this is our work, but can you not?
The assistant groaned, annoyed, shaking her head as she then gazed back at William.
Let's hope it'll put it to good use.
The knight stared at his new blade, and down at himself as he tightened his free hand, and began making his way out of the cockpit, and back towards the laboratory he had been dragged from. By the grace of God! He uttered zealously under his breath, as he pressed onwards, his voice ringing out with a metallic tone to it, and echoing.